Hey everyone, welcome to Snowpal's Software Development and Architecture Podcast. We have a very special guest with us today. We have Dan, who's a tech professional with nearly 2 decades of experience in the international industry in roles such as software developer, IT consultant, technical director, team manager, and solution architect. Dan has created the Tech Career Accelerator program, the Vibe It Up community, where he's a podcaster, has taken the stage as a TEDx speaker, and founded the company Empacity. Dan closely understands the struggles of a tech professional and will be your guide throughout your journey of transformation. Dan, thanks for joining.
Sure, Chris. I'm very pleased to be here and thank you for the invitation.
And then thanks for your patience. I know we're doing this kind of the second time because of some internet issues. So again, appreciate your patience as we go through
No
some of these
worries.
remote challenges, if you will. And it's quite relevant because one of my first questions was about the one we were talking about earlier, which is your company, Empacity, provides a lot of services. And we're going to
Mm-hmm.
include links so folks can check it out. It's empacity.ro. One of the things
Mm-hmm.
we were discussing about was game-based learning. And when we had this internet issue, the question I had asked you was, uh, how many people would there be in a session, in a typical game session? And you had mentioned
Mm-hmm.
it's 10 to 12 people if it's a remote session, if it's up to 20 people, if it's actually a live session. So the
Yes.
question I want to ask you, Dan, is say 10 to 12 people, maybe fewer, maybe around there. Let's say at Snowpal, we
Mm-hmm.
come to you as a team of people, folks who are developers or architects or product managers who are in
Mm-hmm.
sales. So we have a collective bag of folks. Uh,
Yeah.
Two questions. One is your typical team all part of the same company, or do you have sessions where there are people from different companies in the who show up at a particular session?
Y- Yes, I work with both type of people and sessions. For example, I deliver my services to companies. It's business to business, and I do workshops, training workshops, or coaching workshops into the companies, right? And there you have all the people from the same company, of course, or from the same team. There are cases when I'm doing inside the company, but the people are from different department and different teams. For example, the leadership team. It's basically every people from there belongs to another team, but together are the leadership team. So they hang together and they play together and they do the things together, and we discuss the leadership things there, right? And the strategy and planning and other type of things. Um, of course, there is inside the team where we have all the people from the same team, and there we are discussing things from communication, collaboration, planning, strategy too, but in the team level, right? That are focusing on day-to-day tasks of the team, and maybe what are the product vision from their point of view in the future, right? But I do have also leadership um, trainings, which is open, right? Open. It means everyone from whatever companies that you are in can join the program, and it's not a long program. It's a 3 session of 3 to 4 hours, right? So around 12 hours of training on leadership, which you play, learn, and develop your skills in leadership, right? So yes, I
Okay,
have
perfect.
different things.
Okay, that gives me a good context, right? So just to repeat, you said
Hmm.
you could either be from the same company, either folks from the same team who already know each other but come to your training to improve a certain set of skills, or there could be
Hmm.
people who are from the same company, larger organizations, but from different teams who may or may
Yes.
not know each other, or maybe they know each other but perhaps don't work with each other on a daily basis. The third
Hmm.
category is you said people also can show up from different companies altogether to sign up for these sessions. So let's go
Yes.
talk about each of them specifically, right? If I have
Okay.
folks coming from different companies to this training session, maybe it's about leadership, maybe it's about engineering, maybe it's about improving certain skills, whatever those skills that they come to improve upon is. Uh, if I have 10 people who are from 10 different companies, then they are coming to your training to improve a certain skill that does not have anything to do with almost like getting along with each other, right? Because they don't work with each other. They're improving a
Mm-hmm.
specific skill. Whereas when I bring 10 people from the same team, then my objective is different. I actually want to be able to get along a lot better, right? With the folks in my team. So do we have to publish sort of our expectations to you? Like, how do we set this up? We say, hey, Dan, here is what we want to achieve. Here is where we are at. Here is what our
Mm-hmm.
challenges are. And here is what the outcome we expect is. Do we come publish those intentions to you and expectations? And then do you create a customized training program? How does it work?
It depends on the mission that we agree to together as a um so you as owner of the company or stakeholder or the person in charge of delivering this kind of workshops, right? You have some objectives, or you first came to me and say, okay, this is my objective. I can see the lack of skills in this direction, or any other types of um, I don't know, communication or other skills, or maybe processes, or maybe organizing, and or maybe organizational culture. Everything could be something on the list, right? So there are two ways of doing things. Either one, we do before starting everything, we do a one-on-one session, right? Me as a coach with every team member from your team to understand their needs, to understand how it is for them working in your team, how they see your leadership style, and other organizational questions. And we do an assessment. It's a team assessment, and I use Perel framework to do that. There are a set of questions that help me understand the problems that you have inside the team, right? After that, we do a kickoff session when everyone from the team understands why we are doing that. Actually, the kickoff session is before doing the one-on-one workshops, right? And after that, we're doing and establishing the strategy. After I've seen everything from there, I came with the strategy, the workshops, the um, direction of learning, right? The direction of team coaching, because it's many time is not just one episode of learning. And that's what I wanted to say. There are two ways. One is a long journey, which includes these one-on-one sessions when I analyze everything inside the team, and after that I came with a plan, a development
Right.
plan, which includes also the games and learning and debrief and other things inside the journey. Or there are singular training and game-based learning sessions, which are on your request, on your skills that you have seen. So for example, you've seen that, okay, I need my people to communicate better inside the team, right? And we do a session of playing, right? And after that, we go on with the reflection. And after that, we go with the brief, but keeping the communication topic in front and in focus, right? How communication helped or didn't help inside the game, and how that translates inside your work, inside your day-to-day work, right? And what have you done in the game that could do better inside the work, or vice versa? What didn't you do inside the work and you do the same inside the team when delivering and building projects, and it's stopping you accomplish what you want to accomplish, and is limiting your performance as a team.
Dan, that's great. So, which means, the next time I have you on the session as well, I think I want to draw out a few things because what you just mentioned, I'm trying to imagine that pictorially, and sometimes it's easy to visualize it. But here's why I say that, and here's my follow-up question. This is very challenging. You mentioned you're going to learn each of the individual interests and objectives, and then collectively you're going to come up with a very customized program, which is awesome, right? Now,
Hmm.
I can imagine how challenging it would be, and here are the factors involved. Now, you mentioned a remote team of 10 to 12 people, right?
Hmm.
It's not a small number. It's 10 to 12 is a fair number of people, and like you
Yes.
mentioned, it's becomes challenging enough in a remote session. So let's take the number of people. That's something you can control. It could be 4, 6, 10, 12, up to a
Yes.
max number, and then they come from different roles. They could also be from different parts. Teams are very remote these days, so
Hmm.
even though it's one company, they may be located geographically in different parts of the world. Let's say they are in 3 or 4 different countries. That brings a set of challenges, and people have different, support systems, different environments that they've grown up in, different backgrounds. There's a lot of diversity, which is awesome, but it brings a lot of challenges to you as a coach to the table. How do you, as a
Hmm.
coach, take where is Krish coming from? What is Krish's background? What are his skills? What are things that he needs to improve upon in the context of everybody else in the team? And then come up with a training program that spans one or more sessions. If you could just speak to your challenges. I was asking my previous question from a more selfish standpoint as a learner. Now I want to understand a bit more about you as an educator. What are some of the things you
Mm.
have to do to put this thing together?
Yes, yes. It requires a lot of focus and a lot of attention and a lot of listening inside the sessions, and that's why I recommend the journey of learning and transformation of a team to be bigger, right? And not just a one training session. And why I say this is because when you go and you practice to get a driver license, right? You don't go into the parking space, right? Drive 1 hour with the car or 3 hours with the car, and after that they give you the license, and it's not happening because you don't build the skills, you don't have the ownership on what you are wi- and what you will try in the real world, right? And that's why I'm doing everything in the real world, even that I'm using game-based learning as a tool to unlock some behaviors and mechanism and get people together and get people closer to me and closer to them, right? I'm using this just as a tool, as I said, but to unlock the real provocation of their day-to-day work. And that's
Okay.
why I recommend biggest and largest in-time workshops and sessions spent, I don't know, on 3 months and or maybe 6 months, with periodical team coaching and individual coaching where it's needed, right? But to answer your question regarding the individuals inside the team with different backgrounds, maybe different style of doing things, different personalities, all that things, it helped me when I speak just one on one with everyone from the team, because I understand what they need. I understand what is their biggest challenges, right? I understand how they perceive the organization and how they perceive the team, right? And all these things help me after that to get better um, knowledge in designing the workshops and designing something that will be biggest part of how to say that, not the biggest part, but to accomplish what the majority of the team wants.
No, I see what you
Because
mean, right? No, totally.
yes, because there are two views here. Sometimes many team or company owners or HR departments or people came to me and say, "Okay, I want you to fix my team or to fix my people." But they their own behaviors because of the organization that they're in. So it's not them separately. You cannot separate one person from the organization and the style of organization and the style of the leadership and management and put that together and say, fix that. Because that people might behave different when you put it in a different environment. And
Absolutely.
every time it's the case, right? Because we have our own personality as humans, right? We There are people more introvert, there are people more extrovert, there are people which have a biggest level of OCD, which is more attentive on what they're doing and are better fitting for the maybe QA roles when they need to test everything truly, or the research or other type of roles they have in a team. And of course, you have the extroverts and you have the histrionic types and the narcissist type, which are better of being managers or being in charge of sales or doing sales and discussing with other people and clients, right? Each type of personality have their own affinity for a role or another, right? And it will came natural because this is from within, right? If I'm an introvert, of course I won't go to make sales. That's because everything in sales, it's not about being introvert. It's
Totally right. And I can speak to this because I've been doing that I'm not an introvert necessarily, but even if you're an extrovert, sales is a very challenging field, entirely so, right? I
Mm,
couldn't agree more given that I've been doing some of it in the last couple of months. But let me take two examples. If you have a team of developers who, let's say, are located in the US coming to you, hey, Dan, I need to create
mhm,
a training program for this team. That's one type
yeah.
of challenge for you. I say
Mhm,
a parallel scenario is it's still a software team, but it's not just all developers. It's everybody in the team, but located in different parts of the world, in the Middle East, in Europe, in Asia, in
mhm,
Africa, and in the US, for instance. Now, these two teams come to you. You're going to have to, I mean, your job is pretty cut out here, right? Because you're going to have to design something that's quite different. Because if everybody is a developer located in one part of the world versus people from different roles in different parts of the world, you're going to have to put together a program. I'm trying to understand, as an educator, what are some of the things that how do you go about uh, creating this program? I think it's important for us to also understand that so we know what we are, sort of signing up for and what outcomes we can
mhm,
expect. So if you could speak to your challenges in actually creating customized programs in these two specific scenarios, that would be very helpful.
mhm. Yes, yes. Well, uh, first of all, I'm not alone, right? So it's not one person job because, as I said, you first you gather the data about the team, the people, what's inside there, what they are lacking or what they are feel they are lacking, how is the leadership style they perceive, right? Everything it's regarding the data. We get the data. After that, we create the program from an instructional design point of view, but with the permission of the stakeholder. this case, the stakeholder could be the HR department, could be manager, could be anyone, the CEO of the company, and we say, okay, here, this is the report. We have this data, and people, we don't give names. Everything is confidential from the team level, right? And we have this data, uh, and with percent and the views and what we feel it's in there in terms of lack of organization, lack of processes, lack of direction for the team members, lack of understanding of the role. There are many possibilities here, right?
Right.
And we do that, and after that, with those in mind, we design the sessions actually, to put together activities together with game-based learning, but also other activities that will work on what we have seen as lacking inside that team, right?
Okay. Perfect.
So everything is custom made, and it's intended to transform a team and not to be done just one way. Of course, we can do one session of 3 hours or 4 hours on a certain topic. Let's say, okay, let's have a session of the game, and after that, we have a small training and workshop on collaboration. What means collaboration? What drives collaboration inside your team? How do you collaborate better? And all the other things and activities beside the game which enhance the collaboration skills inside the team, right? And that is one single session of a topic put apart or make taken apart. But if you don't actually do follow-ups, other types of activities put on that in in um, in time, you might lose the skills that you gave you gained from those 4 hours, and that's why we are doing long term sessions. And as I said, to get a permit, a driving license, you need to do a lot of hours of driving in the city, right? And
Right. But
only
then
when
let me I think what you said makes complete sense, right? But I think it's slightly different in my mind from a driving lesson. Here is why. I go
Mm,
learn driving. I need to go get
yes,
trained. Somebody's coaching, and I go take
yeah,
my test. I get the license, and then I'm on
mhm,
the road learning as I go. Right? I'm not
yeah,
necessarily going for repeated sessions, but what I'm thinking in this case of coaching, that is different because I came. Let's say we came as a team to you, team of 10 people.
mhm,
You created the session. We enjoyed it. We learned. We improved, and we go back. That doesn't mean
yeah.
we don't come back to you because things could have changed. We change as people, right? Let's say let me take two scenarios, maybe even more than two. One is we got trained, we came for the coaching, everything is done. We said, thanks, Dan, and we are moving on. We've become better people. But we've changed. A year goes by. Let's say the team has not changed. We're the exact same people in the team, but we've changed as people. So we now need to come back for coaching as a possibility is number one. Number two,
Mhm.
the team has also changed, meaning different people have joined the team. Some people have maybe moved on. So even though it's the same company, the team structure has changed. That's the second scenario. The third scenario is maybe a combination of the first two scenarios, but we are doing slightly different things as a company. Maybe we are trying to achieve more than what we had done in the past, so there's a little bit more pressure, more deadlines. So there are a number of things that can uh, change, which means, would you agree that unlike a driving test, this is different because we have potentially a need to come back and be on these programs repeatedly and not just as a one time activity?
Yes. And that's if you don't actually grow the skills that you need to facilitate the change, right? Because what you said now, it's normal for a company, for a team, for a group of people, for any any organization, right? And it's the parts that with forming, norming, storming, and performing. The stages of the team development, right? And each time you change something in the environment, or you take one piece of the organization out and you replace it with something else, everything is broken, and you get back um, to forming, right? To form the team, form the trust, and get through the storms of knowing each other, messing things up, aligning with our views and understanding the views of our colleagues, and after that go back to performing, and it's up again, right? So it's a cycle, and every time it's a cycle on what we are doing. So as you said, yes, you're right. Each time you change something in the team, in the organization, in the scope of what you are doing as a team, right? It needs to have someone from the team needs to have skills that will get the team to the level of their desired performance and get to that storm and going to performance with the changes they have. So this is facilitation skills, communication skills, and so on, and team coaching skills, of course, that will get you through that. And if you don't have the skills growth in your team, yeah, then yes, you came back to me or other people or consultant or team coach that will help you to get through that phase.
Okay, perfect. Right, makes sense. Now I'm going to ask you a difficult question. Maybe it's not difficult for you, but it's difficult. I think it's difficult because here's the question. Uh,
Mm,
there is, we have a team of people. We're like, hey, we engage you and say, Dan, we need you to help us improve certain elements. And then it's
mhm,
obvious to the team that we're going to go to this training session, what the objectives are, and you help out, right? That's a very straightforward scenario. Well, let's take the not so straightforward scenario, which is say we have a team that used to perform well, but in the last 2 quarters, they've not been performing well for whatever reason. Collectively, they've been underperforming. Now, the
mhm,
company wants to find out what's going on. Uh, you don't, I don't know how it works, but I don't know if you go tell the company would go tell the team members, say, hey, you folks are not performing well, so you need to go to a training session with Dan. I don't know if it works that way. If it does, maybe it doesn't. You tell the team that, hey, we need to go to a training session. We're working with Empacity. They're going to do some form of training to help us become better. But I have an ulterior motive, which is to find out what is actually happening, because the team was performing well, but they're not performing well, not as well right now in the last
mhm,
couple of quarters. There's a fine line, but there's a separation here, right? Where there's an
mm.
underlying motive that's different. I mean, does that even make sense to you, or as a coach, or am I just overthinking this?
No, you're not overthinking, and this could happen to any team, right? Because there are stages and reasons of team to be high performant, right? Maybe it's the motivation, the motivation and the vision which came from above, right? And it's not from even from them. It's the motivation, and motivation could be from the CEO, could be from the product, could be from the sales that they are driven by, and the income could be anything in this part. But what I'm trying to say is that there's always a reason why the performance of a team and individual drops, and the performance, it's could be quantified in many ways. With what means performance for you? They don't deliver as quick as and as fast as they did before. They don't do the quality of the things that they are doing before. And of course there are different metrics we can measure when we say performance, right? And
Right.
starting from there, we're going to the root cause of the things, right? Because as I said, maybe the leadership changed. Maybe one person got out of the team, or a senior person that was very important to them. Maybe the informal leader got out of the team and went to another company. Always there is a reason behind this drop of performance, and the drop of performance actually means could mean something else for different teams, right? And analyzing this is going to get us the picture of what changed be- between when we compare the team status and now. So we have in mind, okay, back last year on the same month, your speed, your velocity, if you measure velocity in agile, was at this level, right? What happened between that point and now, and the velocity dropped? Maybe the project had different level of complexity. Why not? it,
Absolutely.
it's there are a lot of different reasons why and how to analyze the drops of performance, and analyze the causes could lead us to what we can do as a team to perform better and to overcome the issues that happened meanwhile. Maybe there's a lack of vision, or a lack of leadership, or the leadership style doesn't quite, um, it's not quite on the team
Right.
preference.
You know,
Because,
these are
yes.
really good points you bring up, right? And every time I have conversations, in this effort of collaborative podcasting done in the last several weeks, if you will,
Mm.
every time I talk to people on a different topic, I've realized almost everything else in life seems to be easier than coding. Coding seems to be the easiest thing to do because every time I have a conversation, I'm like, you know what? Let's just go back to coding because that's easy. You have a machine, you have code, you have a language, you learn the compiler, does what it's promising to do. Because as you explain this to me, in my mind, I'm thinking this is very complex. And I know we're getting to the end of the first half hour. I'm not anywhere close to even skimming the surface of what I want to ask you and learn. So I'm going to have to, encourage you, request you to sort of come back to continue the conversation. But just the next few minutes, I want to say this,
Mm.
or I want to even ask this. So you mentioned the challenges, right? Different challenges,
Hmm.
different objectives that are supposed to meet. Let's say at the end of this effort, uh, the companies can expect, that Dan has a magic wand, right? We had a number of issues. We come to this training session with you. You're done with the training. Every problem has been solved, right? Perfect. That is the
No.
best case scenario. But we know it's not as magical. It's going to take time. You're going to have to learn the teams. The teams have to understand you as a person, your
Yes.
team for that matter, and then you're going to continue to improve. But in the first sessions, not one, but in the first sequence of sessions, you put together a plan and you said, hey, Krish, this is
Hmm.
what I recommend for your company. These are the number of
Hmm.
sessions. This is the size of the team, the group I recommend, and we signed up for the plan. At the end
Yeah.
of that first set of sessions, Dan, what do we expect? The team had the game sessions, they enjoyed, they learned, they improved. But do you provide like a report? Like, what is your artifact at the end of this first session? What do you give us? Do you give us something as a company saying, here is my report on the team, here is how Krish does, these are his strengths and challenges? How does that work? What can we expect from you at the end of those initial sessions?
Yes, yes. Basically, the biggest report is when we start working with the team, and start analyzing and getting the different perspective of from the team members, right? And we are building the report of what's in there through the questions, different tools, different analysis, and so on, and to get a picture of what are perceived by the team at that point, right? After that, as you asked, inside the game, after the game, after the each mission, of course there are a lot of things happening, and each session is built to get to some either skills, either there is something on the motivation part from the leadership, is either is on the vision that every team might have in the perspective of doing things and doing things collaboratively. Of course, it it's not a rule that from after one session or something like that to be the same artifact as a report, as a result as other members, as other teams, and so on. It depends on what you are working. It depends on the objective of that session. Because I have worked with many teams, and I've done things like brainstorming on different processes that they should use inside the team to make their life easier, right? On how to do their actually the workflow inside their team, and it's an artifact that it's got to be better in time, but they collaboratively work together. They have ownership on what was written there because they everyone agreed and brought his ideas there, and after that you get that, and is their print work and their everything on how we feel good to make things. Of course they need support, maybe if they don't have a lot of knowledge in organizing teams, facilitating meetings, and so on. But it's not a personal report on everyone which was on the team right there, because we don't want to finger point. Okay,
Absolutely.
you're the weak point of this team, you're the weakest, you have done the best job, and you rock. No, because if you have done the best job from that team and the team failed, then you failed.
Absolutely. It's not like you're going to
Then
say, I've analyzed this, and of all the members in the team, Krish needs a 50% raise. That's Dan's recommendation. No, no, I think you summarized it beautifully, right? How to communicate your findings, what you found out in those sessions to the company and the management is also a key element. You mentioned
Mhm.
many things. Uh, here again in the next session, I hope to touch items I've not able to been able to get to here. One is I want to talk about automation in the context of what's happening today, what impact that
Mhm.
has in coaching, in how you're changing how you're doing things, and what folks are beginning to expect, or if they're expecting something differently. Second is I want to talk about gig economy. A lot of our conversation is very relevant, but in the context of non-gig economies. Gig economies bring their own sets of suite of challenges to the table. So I want to touch
Mm.
upon a gig economy, and also address the big elephant in the room, which is AI, right? What does AI mean in 2024? How does that change all of these things? But I think that's for a subsequent session, Dan. I can't believe it's a half hour. I'm going to talk to you offline to pick up this topic. But
Mm.
thank you so much for taking this first 30 minutes, and my apologies for this internet and other issues, but thankfully we've sorted that out with this recording. uh Anything else you want to say in closure?
N- no, I'm very thankful that you invited me, and as you can see, I'm very passionate about everything I'm speaking of, and the work that I'm doing. Either there is inside a team and for the companies and building the teams, either is building the people, because many times we don't realize, but people need support, need support on be their best version of themselves, right? And if you can figure out which of your team members need better support and will give you better results as a team in a whole. If you grow that team member, will give you a lot of benefits, right? And that's a different part of what I'm doing. It's building people, right? So building people, but from three perspective: from the psychological mindset and personality, right? Technical, to see what skills they need for them to perform best at their role, right? And last but not the least is the social one. What are their expectation from their point and from the other point of the team members' view from them? And
Perfect.
this this complicates everything, but makes it also clearer on how and what you need to do next in terms of improvement.
Perfect. With that, I think we'll end this first session, Dan. One more time, thank you very much, and we'll talk soon.
Sure. Thank you very much, Chris.